Hello everyone and welcome to the Green Man channel. Hope you're doing good and well. So it's time for a new album review this Sunday, and I'm talking about the fourth self-titled studio album from the synth-pop duo known as Purity Ring. This was released on the 26th of September via the Fellowship, and the album is 13 tracks and 36 minutes in length. So I would describe Purity Ring's music as oddly compelling, and what do I mean by that? Well, with my past experiences with their records, they've taken a little bit of time to sink in, and I don't necessarily think that's because their music is super complicated. It's just, for me, I found that it was a style of electronic music that just took some getting used to and took me a little bit of time to acclimatise to. For example, with Shrines from 2012, they use this kind of modernised production techniques, I guess you might call it. There's some hip-hop style production here. There are those kind of vocal alterations or distorted vocals that you also get with more modern pop records and more modern electronic records. And that's incorporated along with that synth style. And so to describe them just as synth pop perhaps doesn't quite tell you the full story. So when I said synth pop in my introduction, it's kind of generalising a bit. There is a little bit more to this group than just that. And they're actually considered somewhat as pillars of this kind of style. With Shrines in 2012, Pitchfork actually described that album as a definitive time capsule for the sound of 2012 and 2013. Megan James herself has said that she thinks that other artists have actually mimicked their sound and copied them, and I would consider them as pretty influential. If you think of other groups as well, like Churches, there are some similarities, but I do think Purity Ring are still distinctive from Churches. But I still think Hector or Rocco would possibly quite enjoy this one. And yeah, I think this is definitely a solid record from them. And even it's a little bit more immediate than past records. And I say this is one thing that certainly I found with this album and with the singles was I found them a bit more immediate, a bit more catch-on. The songs got stuck in my head that bit quicker than some of those from past records. And they have songs before and singles that have been quite catchy, but I found particularly with this album, with the singles, that they just caught on that little bit quicker maybe. And maybe that's just because I'm used to their sound more now. So just to talk a bit about what this album's been inspired by, because this has formed the ideas, I think, and the concept of the record. It was actually inspired by video games like Final Fantasy X. I mean, I'm not very knowledgeable of role-play video games, so that's about where me trying to explain how this album works as a soundtrack to a video game possibly ends. But that's what they're trying to do. It's about two characters in this video game that are essentially rebuilding from a broken world. Let's go into some of the songs on the album, or a few that I particularly enjoyed. I'd start with Many Lives, which is the second song on this record, was also a single, I believe, as well, in a release in advance. And this demonstrates pretty well, I think, what Megan James does with her vocals, how she makes them catchy and memorable, and also how well blended in those electronic layers are. And I think this is even more so the case with this pre-release single, Place of My Own, which is the fourth song on the album. I love the way, particularly here, that Megan's vocal lines just become very memorable very quickly. And the way the beats are mixed in, those drum loops are mixed in, I just think makes this one a particularly memorable tune on the record for me. And I really enjoyed Place of My Own. I also wanted to mention The Long Night, which was particularly kind of hypnotic for me. It's one of the longer songs on the record, but I loved the more epic moments on this song, the elevated moments that, kind of the use of the electro atmosphere on this song. I just felt like it made it, one of the more epic songs on the record. I'm just repeating myself now a little bit too much, I think. I'm an Ocean was another pre-release single on this album that I really enjoyed, and it's actually more of a guitar-based track, surprisingly. And it made me wonder what Purity Ring would sound like if they did an entirely guitar-based record, because I think this gives a little bit of a teaser of that. It's still very atmospheric, but highly enjoyable, very effective as a song, pretty simple, but a really nice, blissful track to listen to, and one of my favourites as it transpires from the record now. Another good song I thought was Broken Well, which came towards the end of the album. And on that note, I would say I think that the second half of this record is perhaps the stronger half. It may be that the first half is still somewhat settling in, but I did enjoy the back half of this album. So what am I going to give this one overall? At the moment, I'm thinking that it is in the region between a 7.5 and an 8, and that's oddly specific. I every now and then have this moment where I feel very oddly specific about a score of an album, so I'm going to be like that this time round, and I'm going to give this one a 7.8 out of 10. I think that's where I'm at, and I am really, I feel like I am very much enjoying this. And if you like electro pop and you don't mind the modernized production style of electro pop stuff, then you'll probably dig this album. So anyway, thanks for checking out this review. Do drop a like and a sub if you're new to my channel and you want to check out more of my content like this. Otherwise, from me, until next time, as always, bye for now.